The National Transportation Safety Board is warning of a, quote, serious safety issue in the airspace surrounding Reagan National Airport near Washington. It comes nearly 2 months after the deadly mid-air collision between a military Black Hawk helicopter and an American Airlines passenger plane. 67 people were killed in that crash. The American Airlines flight from Wichita, Kansas was preparing to land at the same time the Army helicopter was on a training mission. During a briefing Tuesday, NTSB Chair Jennifer Homendy says the current airspace conditions at the airport jeopardize aviation safety.
The existing separation distances between helicopter traffic operating on Route 4 and aircraft landing on runway 33 are insufficient and pose an intolerable risk to aviation safety by increasing the chances of a mid-air collision at DCA.
For more, let's bring in CBS News White House reporter Olivia Rinaldi. Olivia, you and I were both monitoring this NTSB briefing when it was happening. We were airing it. I noticed that you were kind of drawing diagrams along the way. What were the biggest recommendations and risks that were outlined by Chair Homendy?
Yeah, Lindsay, it's good to be with you. There were two major and urgent recommendations that Chair Homendy issued specifically at DCA. The first was prohibiting the use of Route 4 when planes are landing on runway 33 and runway 15. The second was to find an alternate helicopter route between Haynes Point and the Wilson Bridge here in Washington. You mentioned that graph. I want to show it to you. There's also a graph that we cut specifically for this. But essentially, it's the helicopter routes in D.C. and their vertical limits. There is a 200-foot vertical limit that helicopters are allowed to fly underneath here in Washington, D.C. This dotted line is the route, the path that planes take to land on runway 33 in Washington. This gray space, though, is the area in which, to the west, that helicopters can move off of their route. They're allowed to move that far west. Guess what happens at a certain point, though? They cross the flight path to any plane landing on runway 33. This was a graph we were shown today, and we also learned a very startling figure that 15,214 close proximity events happened between 2011 and 2024 at DCA. That means that a plane and a helicopter came within 400 feet of each other within that zone that I just told you. More than 2/3 of those events happen at night. We also learned about 85 close call events, meaning that was within 200 feet of the planes landing on runway 33. All of this to say the situation at DCA was more dire than perhaps we knew at the time. And from what we heard from Chair Homendy today, this situation was intolerable, and it seems like all of the precursors for a major event to happen were in place consistently for at least since 2011 that this could have happened, and we know that it had been happening more frequently than air safety professionals had known for a long time.
Certainly startling details, and NTSB Chair today said it's now up to the FAA to decide what they're going to do about whether making that current helicopter restriction in that airspace permanent. What else do we learn quickly from that preliminary report released after the briefing?
We also learned today that there were 9 controllers at the facility that day, but that one of the controllers left, and they combined that position at 3:40 p.m. that day. That is 6 hours prior to what we knew before. We thought it was around the 8 o'clock hour that they had closed or combined those two positions. We now learn that happened way earlier. That is something that is out of the ordinary. We also learned that the crash itself, there was a 2-foot section of the tail rotor blade. This is from the preliminary report that was embedded in the plane wreckage where the wing had met the fuselage. And we also learned that that's perhaps where it first hit. So think about that angle where the back tail rotor is hitting the wing of the plane in the fuselage. That explains a little bit, perhaps, the visual conditions that were happening that night if the angle was that the tail is hitting the fuselage of the plane. A lot of visual explanations here, but all to say the majority of the analysis from this crash and what actually happened, we will learn in the next couple of months. This is just fact-finding that we found out today, where we're getting these small details that are painting a broader picture of how exactly this happened and led to, unfortunately, the deaths of 67 people, including children.
Yeah, Homendy said in her words that the easy part is finding out what happened. The hard part is finding out how and why. Olivia Rinaldi, thank you.